Well, it is close. It's close to the end of the year. What a year it's been for the real estate world, buying, selling, renting, mortgage rates. It's been a roller coaster of a year, up, down and around the bend. So I thought, of course, it would be great for the second to last show to get a favourite of ours on for one last run at it and have a good chin wag, our property and political commentator, our PPC, the one, the only Ashley Church. Ash.
What an intro. There was Pete, there was Luxon, there was Fanta. It was roller coasters, right?
It was
all over
I know. I'm all over the show, Ashley. I know, right? It's a good thing. It's a good thing we're having a break. What?
Yeah. Is it too early to say Merry Christmas?
No. We've been doing it all week.
Merry Christmas to you and Cal. I hope you guys have a great, not together, separately, but I hope you guys have a great break.
Well, we are going to see each other on Thursday at our Christmas do in Wellington.
Nice.
It's the first time that we've actually met each other in person.
You're joking.
Ashley.
You're joking.
I've got to pull out my finest clothes and, got a dress to impress. Yeah, it's it. Put a dress on.
Wellington, watch out for Leah and Kelly. My gosh.
I want pictures.
Oh, no. Mainstream media won't run it, so we'll see. Ash, look, before we take a look back at the year and a few other things, I just wanted to get your thoughts on some new data that was out this week. Still sending out new data. This is from realestate.co.nz. They revealed while houses typically deliver a stronger long-term price growth than apartments, I see the difference in returns is narrower than they might expect. They're saying that over the past 5.5 years, houses saw an average price increase of 29.6%, while apartments were following closely behind. Closely at 27.1. I mean, what do you make of that?
Well, it's kind of old news, to be honest.
Giving you old news, Ashley. Oh no, this has gone well.
That gap's been narrow. Yeah, well, no, that's good though. It's good. Good people know that gap's been narrowing for quite some time. So back in the late 90s, when apartments were still, in relative terms, a relatively new thing, there was a bit of suspicion around them, by which I mean that investors in particular sort of didn't quite know where they fit into the sort of the pantheon of investment, and so they weren't quite the favoured investment that a freestanding property with a bit of land on it would be. And to be fair, it's probably still true to say that a freestanding property with a bit of land is still the preference. But apartments are very much now part of the investment environment, and they fulfill a place primarily in respect of the fact that they tend to be cheaper because they don't have land associated with them. So people who are getting into investing in property for the first time, they're very much an option because they allow them to do so at a lower price than if they were buying the traditional freestanding home. Yeah,
lower entry costs, low maintenance. I get that.
Yeah, well, then you've got to pay a body corporate, and there's a few other things.
Yeah, I know. Hey, that? How does that work, Ashley? I mean, I gather each one has their own way of calculating it, but
they do.
What's a good deal? Like, what percentage? How does it work?
Oh, so as somebody who's never actually owned an apartment, it's something I haven't personally chosen to do. Yeah, I'm actually not as familiar. I'm not familiar enough to be able to expound on it on your show, but I do know. But I do know that, as you say, that they do differ from body corporate to body corporate, and they do, so there's different ways of calculating them, and evidenced by the fact that you'll find some people who own them and moan about them, and others who think they're wonderful, and that's probably a demonstration of the fact that they do differ. So, but no, I don't know enough to be able to sort of give advice on them.
I suppose should a buyer weigh the long-term growth potential of a house against an apartment to make the best decision?
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, absolutely, but it's a cost thing at the end of the day. So if you've got a certain amount of money to spend on your investment property and you can't quite afford to get there with a freestanding dwelling, then the apartment's your next cab off the rank.
Yep. Okay, right, Ash. As we round out this lovely year, 2024, I want to look back at a few things and also then look forward to next year. How would you describe how this year has been
Train wreck.
For the property?
Train wreck. Oh, we knew it was going to be, but oh my God, talk about one extreme to the other. And with all due respect to the incoming government, not their fault. But just what a mess. And in fact, I see some figures came out today. In fact, a few minutes ago, indicating that they're that they were expecting to be in surplus, I think, by 2026, and that's now been extended, I think, to 2028. So things continue to be bad on the economy front.
So are there, I hate to say winners and losers, but I mean, that's what it is. I mean, buyers versus sellers this year. What do you think?
Oh, buyers were the winners, and I mean that's less true now than it was, say, a year ago, and even less true than it was 2 years ago. So that equation's been getting better. The difference between the getting into the market and house prices were declining phenomenon's pretty much gone. We're talking tiny percentage points of movement either way at the moment, but still a buyer's market. Won't be for much longer. Having said that, I've been saying that for a few months now, and every time it looks like it's going to take off, it falls back again. And news like this news in the last few minutes probably hasn't helped that.
What about the rental market then? Anything positive there to come out of this year for renters or indeed landlords?
A bit more certainty. I see there was a piece of legislation charged passed a few days ago, which gave some additional rights to renters, things like the ability to have pets as long as there was a pet bond. Some certainty around tenure, and some other things. But the other thing is, and I think you and I have talked about this before, is that national governments traditionally are always better for renters. And the reasons for that, it's got nothing to do with your political preference. It's because Labor governments always pile landlords with a whole lot of additional costs and regulation, and that regulation eventually gets passed on to the tenant. So it always surprises people when I say that. But if you go back over the long haul and you look at what happens to the average rent under national governments versus Labor governments, they're always better off under national governments. Nothing to do with the politics, simply to do with the fact that national governments don't load landlords up with costs.
Yeah. The economy was lackluster, we know that, but looking forward to next year, do you think much of the same? Can we look forward to lower again mortgage rates, or let's not get too excited?
But not for the right reasons. I mean, so this news over the last few minutes is probably good news for homeowners, only because it means that we've got another really tough year. I think they're talking about the economy still technically being in recession when we're expecting to be out of it, and so all of that's fuel to the Reserve Bank to have another crack at. I think it's fair to say they were going to drop those interest rates or the OCR anyway in February. This gives more fuel to that, and may even mean that they'll drop them by even more. So if there's any good news as a result of what's happened in the last couple of minutes, it's the fact that it will continue to drive those mortgage interest rates down for a while yet.
So, I mean, what are the big things you think to watch out for next year if you were to get out the crystal ball? Have a little look.
Oh, well, the two things, all the moving, you look at all the moving parts, and there's lots of them. The two things I keep my eye on are what's happening to the cost of money, and so the cost of money is coming down. That's mortgage interest rates, and as a result of that, because we know from history that when mortgage interest rates come down, house prices go up. So I would expect to see mortgage interest rates getting down to a long run average of about 4.5%, maybe even slightly lower. And if not by the end of next year, then certainly by the beginning of 2026. And as a result of that, I'll expect house prices to start climbing again. What I don't know is whether it will follow the trajectory of the last 40 years. And the reason I say that is you and I have talked about this before. There's this very predictable pattern of house price growth that's happened since about 1980, where house prices have roughly doubled every decade, up until about 2020, 2021. And then we had this really weird period, which we're still in, where the Reserve Bank basically interfered so dramatically in the economy that all bets were off on the way the property market should perform. So it's been in hiatus for the last couple of years. Now that it's about to recover again, will it return to its long-run performance, or are we in new territory and it's going to do new things? And I don't think anybody really knows.